David Higgins, Vito Imbasciani.
Here.
Pat Levitt, Shlomo Melmed, Carolyn Meltzer,
Present.
Chris Miaskowski,
Present.
Carol Watson,
Here.
and Keith Yamamoto
He's coming in.
is coming in right now. The record will reflect Keith Yamamoto has joined the meeting. Mark, off to you.
Great. Well, thanks for everybody to get together today. We really appreciate it. The main item under consideration has to do with the 2024-2025 research budget that, as you know, we had previously focused in on the first half of the year, and now we need to have discussion followed by potential motion and vote related to the second half of the year. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the CIRM team to discuss and present the plans for the second half of FY 2024 and 2025.
Thank you, Mark. Let me share my screen. So today, thank you, members of the board and the public. Today I have the pleasure of providing an update to you on the fiscal year 24-25 research budget. As we start our presentations at CIRM, just to remind everyone of our mission: accelerating world-class science to deliver transformative regenerative medicine treatments in an equitable manner to a diverse California and world. And this is just reminding us all of our 5-year strategic plan, our high-level goals of advancing world-class science, delivering real-world solutions, and providing an opportunity for all. So our agenda today, I'll be giving an overview of everyone of the total grant funds allocated for CIRM, the approved fiscal year 24-25 July through December research budget. As Mark mentioned, I'll be sharing with you the actuals to date, and the proposed fiscal year 24-25 research budget for the remaining 6 months from January through June, and what are the major drivers of the activities at the organization and the financial considerations. So this slide shows a grant funds overview of as of October, end of October. We have a total of 7.72 billion total grant funds. This includes both Prop 71 and Prop 14 research dollars. As you'll see, we're still about at 50%, with 51% encumbered of 3.95 billion and 49%, 3.77 billion unencumbered. This next slide focuses specifically on Proposition 14. As this committee knows, the proposition is very specific on certain allocations relating to certain types of research or activities of the organization. So this first bar chart column shows the allocation of 3.4 billion that the organization has to fund research, therapies, development, and therapy delivery. As you can see, the blue bar is showing 837 million has been committed to date. The second bar is showing diseases of the brain and central nervous system, which we have 1.38 billion. This includes the committed funds of 382 million to date. And for access and affordability, we have 96 million, which to date we have committed just about 2 million. As you'll see on the left-hand side, this arrow is showing specific earmarks in the research, therapy development, and therapy delivery earmark. That's an up to amount. So there's a cap of 26 million to build and equip shared research labs, and 78 million for build, equip, and operate community care centers of excellence. And currently, we don't have any actuals to report. The board may recall that we have had concepts come through and awards. We're currently in the end stages of contracting the shared resource labs. So in the end of June, end of this fiscal year, I'll be reporting back the actuals in this presentation. And this next slide shows the end of the previous fiscal year and showing where we are at this current fiscal year of our historical research budget performance under since Prop 14 relaunched. The first bar column is showing year one, which was January through June of 2021, which we had a budget of 352 million. The blue bar is showing the committed, and red column, the uncommitted. Year two, for 21-22, we had a budget of 474 million. For column year three, we had a fiscal year budget for 22-23 of 426 million. And for year four, we had for 23-24 a budget of 519 million. And as you'll see here, we currently have a total of 410 million allocated through December. The purple addition is showing any pending commitments, which I'll review with this committee in the subsequent slides. But this is just showing a comparator for as you look at the upcoming year's budget. So now I'll get into the fiscal year 24-25 first 6 months of the year approved research budget. As you may recall, the board approved 410.5 million for the first 6 months of this year. 145.5 million was for the clinical program, 60 million for translational, 116.2 for the discovery program. No funds were allocated for the education program, and 88 million for the infrastructure program. The second column here is showing the commitments to date. This the first is 13.9 million for our clinical program has been approved by the application review subcommittee. No awards have been funded yet in the translation program as of today. 89 million has been allocated to the discovery program, and then 26.8 million for the infrastructure program, for a total of 130.8 million. The third column is showing the remaining pending commitments of the organization. So just tomorrow, we have another application review subcommittee. So as you'll see, there are many pending applications that are still to be approved by the ARS before the end of December. 33.5 million for the clinical program, which will be going to the application review subcommittee tomorrow. 60 million for translation, that will be coming to the December application review subcommittee, and 60.2 million for infrastructure for the Community Care Centers of Excellence program, that'll be coming to the December application review subcommittee. So that's a total of 153.7 million that are still pending. That gives an estimated to finish in the fourth column that's showing a 284.5 million estimated to finish for this first 6 months of the year. And what I'd like to share with you a little bit more is the variance between that the approved budget in the first column and the estimated to finish in the fourth column. And some of the rationale for some of that variance. So for the clinical program, we will be ending the year at an estimated variance of 97 million. There are a couple of reasons that has come to fruition. One is that I think this board will remember that for the clinical program, we budget based on a total, the highest award amount possible for the estimated clinical applications that will be coming in. So it's not an average as our other programs. And because of that, we did see some applications that are in the commitments or the pending that have come in under the estimated amount. In addition, there was one planned GWG to occur in November that was postponed a week or two. And because of that, those applications will actually not be coming to the application review subcommittee until January. And so what you will see reflected in the next 6 months is those pending applications and those activities. The next area that I wanted to point your attention to is the discovery program. So we have a 26.2 million variance at the end of December. This variance is due to the Remind L program, our DISC-4 program. In September, the board approved Tier 1 applications for the Remind L program. In that discussion, there were also several Tier 2 applications that the board, that the CIRM team recommended and the board approved, having those tier 2 applications come back to a new GWG and be re-reviewed and then come back to the board. So this 26 million you will also see accounted for in the next 6 months. And then lastly, we have a variance of about 1 million in the infrastructure program, which relates to the shared labs program that had the tier 2 commitments that happened during this period. So there is a total of 125.9 million variance ending at the first 6 months. So now I'll walk through the January through June proposed research budget. And what I wanted to first let everyone know is obviously in September, the board made a major commitment to several prioritizations for our strategy. And the CIRM team is actively working on that. And JT will be providing an update during his president's report, but the organization will have timelines at presenting of when those concepts will come. But at this time for the budget, we don't anticipate any approvals happening during the next 6 months. Those approvals will not happen until the next fiscal year in 25-26. So this budget for the next 6 months supports approvals from January through June 2025. These will be clinical approvals for our tier 2 awards that have gone through our pipeline already, and the December GWG that's occurring that will have a January ARS meeting. These will be also, this budget also includes the DISC-4 Remind-L approval of tier 2 awards. It also includes a review and approval of the Discovery Program, the Foundation Awards. This also includes an education, a request for 2 education conferences that I'll review with you, as well as funds for a program extension for our Bridges, our current active Bridges Awards that Dr. Kelly Shepard will be presenting to you after my presentation today. So I'll break these down by the pillar programs as shown in the first 6 months. For the Discovery budget, where we'll be requesting a budget of 63.3 million. This includes 37.1 million for the Foundation DISC-0 awards, which we anticipate will yield about 12 awards. In addition, it includes the Remind-L DISC-4 program for a total of 26.2 million, which will yield up to 3 awards. For translation, we're requesting no funds for the next 6 months. The clinical program, a request of 73 million, which includes 11 applications that are currently within cycle at various stages. Given the success rate that we've shared with this board previously, we anticipate about a 57% success rate. Thus, the budget supports about 6 approved CLIN 1 or CLIN 2 awards during the next 6 months. The education budget, we're requesting 10.5 million to support 2 conference grants, 528,000 to support our annual Spark meeting, as well as the second occurrence of our Pan Educ training conference. And then again, the 10.3 million for 15 awards for a extension of our current active Bridges program. And then currently no infrastructure budget would be requested during these next 6 months. So this last slide is just showing a side by side. The first column is the total estimated to finish for July through December of 284.5 million. The second column is the proposed January through June budget of 146.8 million. And the third column, I've totaled that together to give you an understanding of the estimated total budget for the year, which would be 431.4 million. And then with that, just our request today is for the board to get, for the Science Subcommittee to consider and recommend to the board approval of the budget for the next 6 months. Thank you, Mark.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much. And with that, I'd like to get a motion and a second to have the affirmative vote from the Science Subcommittee to forward this on to the board for next level of consideration. So I'd like to get those motions.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Thank you so much. And with that, let's kick off the discussion. So we'll start with the Science Subcommittee first. And like to hear any, questions or comments related to the proposal on the table. And I'm not able to see all the parties, so if somebody there can see if there's a hand raised.
Yeah. We don't see
No
any
hands raised.
comment either, Mark.
Okay. And so, and just for confirmation, are there any, let's then forward this to discussion from any public attendees? Is there anyone from the public who is available or wants to comment?
No, it doesn't look so, Mark. I think we're ready for a vote.
Okay, we're ready for a vote. Scott, if you could record the vote.
Sure. Maria Bonneville,
Yes.
Monica Carson,
Yes.
Mark Fisher Colbury,
Yes.
Elena Flowers,
Yes.
Judy Gasson,
Yes.
David Higgins, Vito Imbasciani,
Yes.
Pat Levitt, Shlomo Melmed, Carolyn Meltzer,
Yes.
Chris Miaskowski,
Yes.
Carol Watson,
Yes.
Keith Yamamoto.
Yes.
Great. Thanks very much, Mark. That motion carries.
Great. Nice work by the team to go through all the steps leading up to the budget. The budget is just the final outgrowth of many thousands of man hours of work. So, kudos to the team. And then with that, the next item for discussion is for only inherently a memo item. There's no vote that is required, but it has to do with the extension of the educational grants that you'll hear about momentarily. It's very important to note that a number of us have conflicts with this particular, element, and therefore, as a consequence, those folks should not comment or get into the discussion related to this item following the presentation on the grant. So I just wanted to make that cautionary statement. And then Scott, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add to that.
No, you've crystallized my thoughts eloquently, Mark.
Great, thank you, Scott. And then with that, if you'd like to bring us up to date on essentially the renewal and the educational grants.
Happy to. I'm going to share my screen now. Great. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And good evening, members of the Science Subcommittee and members of the public who might be listening, as well as the CIRM team. It's my pleasure to provide a little bit of additional color on this informational item that was something alluded to in the budget that you just approved and represents something that we'll be bringing to the full board in December for action consideration. So this item relates to an extension for our CIRM Bridges program. And just to provide a little bit of background and reminder, we periodically update you on our edu programs, but we are actually supporting 4 separate programs at this time that cover different levels of training across the spectrum, all the way from high school to pre and postdoctoral clinical levels. So the item that we're going to be discussing today is our Bridges program, which kind of spans the middle here. We have programs that support certificate level training, as well as bachelor's and post-baccalaureate and master's level programs through these grants. And this program has actually been continuously active for the last 15 years. These grants have been funded through a series of several RFAs where they had to compete to renew their funding over the years. So the first RFA was TB1, or the original Bridges Award, that was issued back in 2009. This program was relaunched through another competition in 2015 under the presidency of Randall Mills. And then most recently, after the passage of Proposition 14, the RFAs that fund the currently active or Bridges Awards began in middle to late 2021. So just a quick reminder of the Bridges program. The objective is to prepare students, undergraduate, master's level, for highly productive careers in stem cell and gene therapy research. These are integrated within bachelor's, master's, or certificate programs. But here's the important part, at institutions that did not receive CIRM-funded infrastructure awards under Proposition 71. So this means community colleges and California state universities. The way these programs are structured is students at these institutions take courses and training at their home institution, and then they are offered the possibility of doing a full-time paid hands-on laboratory internship at a host institution. So they will come to major research facilities that have regenerative medicine programs and medical schools, biotechnology companies, in order to have that experience of doing an internship in a world-class regenerative funding, regenerative medicine-based laboratory. These students also participate in patient engagement and community outreach activities and participate in an annual conference, which an example of which you can see on this slide from 2022 at our most recent Bridges Conference in San Diego. So these are the locations of these 15 active Bridges programs. You can see that they're spread throughout the state, from the furthest north, Cal Poly Humboldt, and the furthest south, which would be San Diego State University. So another quick piece of background is the outcome of the strategic allocation framework discussions and plan that was approved by the board last September. One of the goals that was approved was for CIRM to bolster our workforce development training programs to address gaps and meet evolving demands in regenerative medicine. And one of the keys to this goal was to provide high demand technical training via Bridges and Compass program updates. And this would include increasing the types of offerings and diversifying the types of internships and other types of integrations that we can propose to increase the interaction and integration with our research and development programs. So in order to implement these recommendations, we will be issuing a new RFA because these are significant changes to the concept. And so the new RFA would be issued so that these existing awards and programs will have an opportunity to compete, to update their programs and compete for funding to extend. So basically, the other key point that I want to make is that this is an also opportunity for new EDUC programs to be developed. The 15 currently active programs have been supported in one form or another since 2009, 2010. This would allow an opportunity for some additional Cal State universities or community colleges to develop and implement their own EDUC programs. There's a problem though, and the problem is that the existing awards are in their fourth year. Most of them are in their fourth year, which is their second to last year of support. So in order to keep these programs continuous while these programs compete for a new round of funding, they would need to actually receive a new tranche of funds in 2025 to avoid a loss of continuity. In order to make that feasible, we would have to post an RFA very soon in 2025 with April due dates and summer reviews in order to make that happen. So this timeline is really a challenge, not only for our existing grantees who would have to appropriately modify their programs in a short time frame, but that would also very strongly disadvantage any new programs that would not have a chance to put together something competitive. So what we're proposing to mitigate this challenge is to follow something that we've done in previous cycles when we've made major updates to this program. We would request an allocation to extend all of the active programs by 12 months to allow them to avoid a loss of continuity if they're able to successfully compete for new funding, and provide them sufficient lead time for existing programs to be modified, and also a sufficient lead time for competitive new programs to be developed. So as in previous years, the extension supplement would be conditioned on a demonstration of good standing and an adequately justified request for that supplement. So what we would be bringing to the board in December is a request for approval of this supplement that I just described. And the next steps would be we would bring the revised Bridges concept to the board for approval in March to June of 2025. We would be able to post that very shortly thereafter. And this would give us the entire rest of 2025 and early 2026 before we would expect any new applications to be due. So we would take advantage of this long lead time and hold webinars and consultations with new programs to help them develop something that could potentially be competitive when they come in for a 2026 cycle of competition. And under this structure, the earliest funding of awards would begin in August or September of 2026, which would allow maintenance of continuity for any existing program that is successful and competed for renewal of fundings. And it would allow a fall launch for any new programs that would be consistent with their academic calendar. And that concludes my informational item, and I'm happy to take, if there are any unconflicted questions, I could take questions.
Yeah, again, just for people who have no conflicts, if there are questions or comments related to these discussion points.
We have Vito Bassiani here in the room who has a question.
Yeah, I do. Hi. Thanks, Kelly. Typical, I don't mean to denigrate you by saying that, but typical crystal clear presentation. I appreciate the work that's gone into this. So it's a budgetary meeting, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. The first one is budgetary. You're asking for $10.1 million?
10.03.
And that number came, how did you calculate that?
So we have 15 active awards, which were awarded support for 5 years. So basically, we summed the 1-year budget for each of those 15 awards.
15. Okay. That pencils out. I guess another budgetary question. This supplemental $10+ million is going to cover what aspect of the program? Is it the costs associated with the trainees themselves, or our administrative cost, or some proportional distribution?
It actually covers administrative costs for the grant itself, as well as funds that support the trainees. So the trainee funds include things like their stipends for their internship, the fees and the tuition supplement for the courses that they need to take. And an example of the administrative funds that it support are the activities that the directors and leaders of these programs need in order to recruit and solicit a new cohort of students that would be able to join the program as the next cadre of interns in the next cycle of funding.
Right. Thank you. Another question that comes to mind. So this program would end if we didn't extend it in year 5. So in year 6, if we pass this at the board in December, it'll go forward. Will the recipients, will the grantees be allowed to tinker with any aspect of the program in that first year, year 6?
So they won't be able to implement any changes that aren't allowed in the existing concept, which was the one that guides them that was approved in 2021. But as in any other year, they're able to add new host sites and new mentors and recruit additional students and place them in labs and grow their programs that way, as long as it's in scope with the existing concept and the research is related to our mission.
Thank you. It strikes me, I mean, we value our educational programs so highly, and this seems like a very timely plug, if I can editorialize. That's all I have, Mark. Maybe.
Okay. Thank you, Vito. Other questions from non-conflicted members of the Science Subcommittee?
I don't see any, Mark.
Okay, then we can go on to the next item, which is just if there are any general public comments related to our meeting today. And Claudette, I don't know if there's anybody on the, who has notified us about that.
No, not for today.
Okay, given that there is no public comment for the overall meeting discussion today, the meeting, I think, can be adjourned. So why don't we go ahead and complete the work for today. And again, extreme compliments to the team. And thank you for everybody for attending the call today.
Great. Thanks.